Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Wednesday, July 9th, 2025, and this is your AM Update.
Yeah, could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
President Trump hosts a cabinet meeting covering issues from the Texas flooding to Jeffrey Epstein and everything in between.
I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu nominates President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize as the two leaders work toward ending the war in Gaza. An Obama-appointed judge blocks the provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill preventing Planned Parenthood from receiving federal funds, a move the U.S. Supreme Court just held even a state has the right to do. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM Update. If you are stressed about back taxes, maybe you missed the April deadline or your books are a mess, don't wait. The IRS is cracking down. Penalties add up fast, 5% a month, up to 25% just for not filing. But there is help. You don't have to handle this alone. Tax Network USA can take the burden off your shoulders and stop the spiral before it gets worse. They have helped thousands of Americans, whether you're an employee, a small business owner, or you haven't filed in years. Messy books? No problem. They've seen it all. Tax Network USA has direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators on your side. You'll get a free consultation, and if you qualify, they may even be able to reduce or eliminate what you owe. More importantly, they will help protect you from wage garnishments or bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter. Call 800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Megyn to talk to a real expert at Tax Network USA. Take the pressure off. Let Tax Network USA handle your tax issues. On Tuesday, President Trump holding his sixth cabinet meeting since returning to office in January. The nearly 2-hour meeting covering a wide array of topics, including the latest on the Texas flood rescue efforts, the newly signed One Big Beautiful Bill Act, Jeffrey Epstein, immigration, and more. And unlike the last administration, this one was on full display for the public and press to see and ask questions. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem kicking off the meeting with the latest on the catastrophic flooding in Texas. More than 100 people dying, dozens more yet to be accounted for, including 10 missing children still from the Camp Mystic Girls Camp. Secretary Noem sharing the heartbreaking stories of some of the survivors she met with.
I hugged him and I said, "Do you work here?" And he said, "No, my little girl was in that cabin." And he said, "And I just found her best friend about an hour and a half ago. She had passed away." But then there was another, the grandpa was there looking for his granddaughter as well. There was a dad there of one of the counselors. The counselor was alive, but she was dealing with the fact that she had hung on to some of these girls and was trying to keep them out of the floodwaters and had gotten hit by something and had lost two of the girls and wasn't able to hang on to them and was going to live the rest of her life thinking about that moment when she wasn't able to hang on to these girls. The strength of people is incredible.
President Trump and the First Lady set to visit Central Texas on Friday. The cabinet meeting then turning to the recent successes of the Trump administration. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent sharing the latest stats on income from President Trump's tariffs.
We will have taken in about $100 billion in tariff income thus far this year, and that's with the tariffs, the major tariffs not having started till the second quarter. So we could expect that could be well over $300 billion by the end of the year. We don't agree with CBO scoring, but for those who do, the CBO scored tariff income over the next 10 years at $2.8 trillion, which we think is probably low.
This as the administration is sending letters to 14 countries informing their leaders of a new tariff rate taking effect on August 1st. President Trump next chiding Democrats for voting against the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and criticizing left-wing talking points around the legislation.
And I want to, scold the Democrats because they're voting for tax cuts. They're voting for no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and, many, many other things far more important than that. Great health care. And frankly, every Democrat should lose their election because it was purely political to vote. They were told not to vote for it. I think it's incredible when I watch the Democrats and they have standard lines like that: Russia, 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 the laptop from hell, it all came from Russia. They make things up, and they go with it and they feed it to you people in many cases, and they said, here's our line. And I hear the new line is death. Oh, it's death. Everyone's going to die. There's nothing to do with death. In fact, we're saving our country. Death is from allowing 25 million people into our country, of which 3 or 4 are stone-cold, hard criminals. 11,888 are murderers, many of them committing more than one murder. That's death, and the Democrats did that. Joe Biden did that by allowing people to come in here just totally unchecked, unvetted, open borders. The whole world was dumped into our country.
President Trump turning his attention to the media coverage surrounding the successful military strike against critical Iranian nuclear facilities.
We had a lot of fake reporting, mostly from CNN. They came up with this concept that maybe the attack wasn't that good. And I saw it happen right after the attack. I saw this person on CNN. I like to watch the enemy. You learn from the enemy. And I watched her say, Anderson, I'm hearing stories that maybe they didn't hit their target. Maybe it wasn't that good a hit. And they were hearing stories. The next day it was a little more, and the next day a little more. After 3-4 days, she was saying, I don't know. I don't think it was that. And you ought to fire that reporter immediately. You should fire her. I always like confronting, because otherwise the public doesn't know that you're a bunch of crooked people. And the media has to straighten out their act. The media is down to 17% approval. You got to do a little better than that. It's important for the country that you do better. I think they ought to make a lot of changes. I think changes are going to be made to the media, but it's hard to have a really successful country if you have a corrupt media.
Then a tense exchange on the FBI and DOJ's announcement that there is no Jeffrey Epstein client list, no evidence the convicted sex offender blackmailed high-profile figures, and no more information would be released from the investigation.
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is facing criticism from many on the right for her past comments on the existence of the Epstein client list, then weighing in.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing.
President Trump facing recent backlash from his MAGA base following comments last Thursday pitching a path for illegal alien farm workers to remain in the country. Mr. Trump clarifying those comments.
There's no amnesty. What we're doing is we're getting rid of criminals, but we are doing a work program. Do you want to explain that, please?
Obviously, this president's vision of no amnesty, mass deportation continues, but in a strategic way, and then ensuring that our farmers have the labor that they need, but moving toward automation, ensuring that our farmers have that workforce, and moving toward an American workforce.
Give the farmers the people they need, but we're not talking amnesty.
President Trump winding down the meeting with an art tour of the room, telling the story behind a recently added grandfather clock.
So as president, you have the power. If I go into the State Department or Department of Commerce or Treasury, If I see anything that I like, I'm allowed to take it. Do you believe this? So I'm in Marco's, I see this gorgeous clock, grandfather clock, and there it is. I said, Marco, I love this clock. Look at it. It's beautiful. He said, what clock? I said, I tried to talk him into it first. I said, I'd love to take that clock out and put it in the cabinet room. He said, no, are you serious? I said, Marco, I have the right to do it, Marco. And he said, all right, what the hell? That's his contribution to the cabinet room.
On Monday evening, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House surprising President Trump with a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize.
The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country, in one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved. And you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Barack Obama was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize after just 10 months in office for his alleged efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples, especially, they said, his reach out to the Muslim world. The chairman of the Nobel Committee said they were influenced by Mr. Obama's efforts on climate change and his support for the United Nations. Many felt the award was utterly undeserved. Since taking office just 6 months ago, the Trump administration brokering several major peace agreements, the cessation of war between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, the de-escalation of a rapidly intensifying conflict between nuclear powers India and Pakistan, and of course a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, following a successful U.S. military strike on 3 key Iranian nuclear facilities. That's in addition to fostering the Abraham Accords in his first term and his current efforts to secure an end to the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. In the Tuesday cabinet meeting, the president and special envoy Steve Witkoff delivering an update on the Gaza negotiations.
Gaza is it's a tragedy. And he wants to get it solved, and I want to get it solved. And I think the other side wants to get it solved. Steve, could you talk on that, please?
We're in proximity talks now. And we had 4 issues, and now we're down to 1 after 2 days of proximity talks. So we are hopeful that by the end of this week, we will have an agreement that will bring us into a 60-day ceasefire. 10 live hostages will be released. 9 deceased will be released. We're meeting at the president's direction with all the hostage families to let them know. And we think that this will lead to a lasting peace in Gaza.
Coming up, an Obama-appointed judge blocking the provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that defunds Planned Parenthood. And a Secretary of State Marco Rubio impersonator is on the loose. Every dollar you spend is either supporting your values or working against them. In today's economy, where you spend your money matters. Patriot Mobile is leading the way as America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Switch today without sacrificing quality or service. You'll get exceptional nationwide coverage because unlike most budget wireless providers, Patriot Mobile has access to all 3 major U.S. networks. You can even add 2 numbers on 2 networks on one phone, something the big guys cannot even do. Stay connected with flexible, unlimited data plans to fit your lifestyle. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you are supporting faith, family, and freedom. And switching is simple. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Patriot Mobile's 100% U.S.-based team will get you activated in minutes. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/Megyn or call 972-PATRIOT to get a free month of service with promo code Megyn. Make the switch. Defend freedom with every call and text you make. That's patriotmobile.com/MEGYN or just call 972-PATRIOT. A federal judge temporarily blocking a provision within the One Big Beautiful Bill Act revoking Medicaid funding from Planned Parenthood. The provision of the bill bans Medicaid funding for 1 year to large reproductive health nonprofits providing elective abortions, even if the payments are for other services. Though the Big Beautiful Bill does not specifically name Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, that organization is clearly the intended target. This provision considered a major win for the pro-life movement. Planned Parenthood Federation of America and 2 state affiliates filing suit on Monday, arguing the federal law unfairly punishes the group without a trial, that it violates the Due Process Clause of the Fifth Amendment, and that it violates the First Amendment. Planned Parenthood arguing clinics in 24 states could face closure as a result of the stripped funding. President Obama appointed U.S. District Court Judge Indira Talwani, who issued a 14-day temporary restraining order. Quote, defendants shall take all steps necessary to ensure that Medicaid funding continues to be dispersed in the customary manner and timeframes to Planned Parenthood Federation of America and its members, Planned Parenthood League of Massachusetts, and Planned Parenthood Association of Utah. The judge declining to provide any explanation in her 2-page order. This lawsuit coming less than 2 weeks after a Supreme Court ruling that permits South Carolina to exclude Planned Parenthood from its Medicaid programs, even for non-abortion services like the Big Beautiful Bill does with the federal money, rendering this federal court ruling especially shaky and unlikely to withstand appeal. In response to this latest injunction, a White House official telling CBS News, quote, the Trump administration is ending the forced use of federal taxpayer dollars to fund or promote elective abortion, a common-sense position that the overwhelming majority of Americans agree with. Attorney General Pam Bondi responding to the ruling from the Tuesday cabinet meeting.
It looks like we have a rogue judge, an Obama-backed rogue judge that is attempting to block the funding to Planned Parenthood, which the Big Beautiful Bill cuts off the funding to Planned Parenthood. Any plans to challenge that?
Absolutely. Yes, we're on it.
An appeal is expected. A Secretary of State Marco Rubio imposter on the loose, according to a State Department document obtained by the Washington Post. According to the July 3rd cable, the culprit, using artificial intelligence to mimic the secretary's speaking and writing style, quote, contacted at least 5 non-department individuals, including 3 foreign ministers, a U.S. governor, and a member of Congress. The suspect, who has not yet been identified, left voicemails and in one case sent a text message inviting the target to chat on Signal. The impersonation reportedly beginning mid-June, the imposter creating a Signal account with the display name marco.rubio@state.gov. That display name is not the secretary's real address. It is unclear if any of the targets responded to the imposter, the State Department telling the Post it will, quote, carry out a thorough investigation and continue to implement safeguards to prevent this from happening in the future. As if Marco Rubio doesn't have enough to do already. Well, that'll do it for your AM update. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here for the Megyn Kelly Show live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly and on all podcast platforms.